So a buddy asked me to shoot his comedy show. It's like a karaoke stand-up comedy mashup. So I decided to do something kind of crazy, and I'm going to shoot it with my Hasselblad 907X100C. And I'm only going to use these three lenses: the 55V, the 20 to 35E, and the 90V. I'll check back in after the show and let you know how it went. So I just got back from shooting my buddy's comedy slash karaoke battle royale show. Since it was kind of a last minute request and he only needed a few photos for social media, we agreed that I could shoot the show with my Hasselblad 907X100C. This guy. It was a fun challenge, but probably not one I'm very eager to repeat. The camera's a little too slow, and the low light performance of this guy is not quite up to par for something like that show, given its controls and lack of IBIS. I think the biggest problem, though, was honestly the blackout period between shots. You push the shutter, but because the sensor is such a slow reading sensor, there's a long period before you can take another shot, or at least see what you're shooting. So a lot of times I was kind of just hitting the shutter button and hoping I was catching a moment. It actually worked out more times than I thought it might, but it was a little bit nerve-wracking, honestly. In terms of battery life, I went through almost 2 full batteries in about 3 hours, maybe 3.5 hours of shooting. So the battery life is not great exactly. In terms of lens performance, the V series lenses were pretty good, except in low light situations, both in terms of like light gathering ability and autofocus. If you can say that Hasselblad's autofocus is pretty good in any context. However, this 20 to 35E was almost unusable in the dark club that I was shooting in. While it's f3.2 at the wide end, it quickly jumps up to like 4 or 4.5, and that was just too dark for a lot of situations. Really just hobbled the autofocus. The autofocus basically didn't work on the camera, and I had to go to manual focus on it. So really not a great lens for shooting in a club, even though you would think a wide angle zoom would be the perfect lens for shooting in a club, like close up to the stage, that kind of thing. And then obviously, the controls of this camera aren't meant for this kind of shooting. It would have been nice to have a hand grip, a screen that flips down so you could shoot over your head, like this, shoot over your head like this. But I knew it wasn't made for this. That was kind of part of the fun / challenge. Also, like editing the files, I'm realizing more and more the Hasselblad camera has one look. That's the look you get. It's gorgeous colors. It's a nice look. Don't get me wrong. But it's really hard to get that look out of the pictures, especially when they're already being pushed at high ISOs and that kind of a thing. So you're kind of just like editing to make it look as good as possible, given the weird white balance and the weird lighting in the room. Whereas I feel like maybe even some full frame cameras, like a Sony camera, might have had more latitude in terms of what I could have done more easily to make it look more normal, that the lighting wasn't so crazy in the room. But I don't know, the lighting was so nuts in that club. It might be, across all cameras. I'll have to shoot another show there sometime with a regular camera, maybe the Leica SL3S that I'm shooting on, and see how that does to compare. But the medium format latitude of files really didn't save it in this context. And if anything, made me feel like, you're kind of locked into the Hasselblad look with this Hasselblad camera. And it's hard to get that look out if that's not what you're looking for, or if the colors the camera has chosen for you aren't the colors you want in the picture. In terms of recognition of the camera, only 2 people knew what it was. One just guessed it was a Hasselblad. That's all they had. And then one guy who, by the way, owns 3 8K Reds. That's the kind of person we're talking about. A bad man. Knew exactly what it was. We had a great conversation about it. He and I will be definitely hanging out in the future. So in summary, was it a fun challenge to shoot this in a low light, club, nightlife environment? Yeah, it was. Do I want to repeat that challenge again? No, I sure don't. The The Hasselblad really isn't made for this kind of shooting. The camera is made to be shot in the studio, and that's where it's going to remain for me. So, have you shot a nightlife event, a concert or something, a comedy event with a Hasselblad medium format camera? Did you have a similar experience? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Kill.